Okay, I've been putting off this video for a while, but today we are here to talk about all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried in 2024. I have 27 eyeshadow palettes sitting in front of me and I am prepared to rank them. Let's get started. First of all, hello, welcome, happy holidays. I have seen this video going around where it's time, y'all. It is time to rank the palettes that we have tried in 2024, and this year I feel like I've probably tried the most palettes out of any of my palette rankings. I'll have the other ones listed down below, but I've recently been placed on some PR lists, and so I've been getting palettes sent to me. I'm still purchasing palettes, and I have 27 to go through. I have ranked them from least favorite down to most favorite. I do have 3 palettes that are going to be excluded from the ranking today. We will talk about why as we get on into the video. I'll let you know what those palettes are and I'll let you know what's on my eyes. But before we begin, I'm just curious if you have a guess at like what you think I used today for my eyes. It's just one palette. What palette do you think? Leave it in the comments down below and let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so I did say I tried 27 palettes, but I'm only ranking 24 since I'm not ranking 3 of them. And in last place, this one was a disappointment. Now I'll let you know why I have each of these in this category, but I love Adept Cosmetics, and this year I purchased the Adept Legend of Ardra palette, and I have to say, I was really disappointed in this one because of the quality. Typically, I love Adept Cosmetics. I love their shimmer shades. I think they're sparkly and glitzy and shimmery and shiny and pigmented and beautiful. And so I purchased this because I was really excited about the color story. I was really excited about like these shimmer shades. We have 2 rows of shimmers like right up my alley, right? And of course, if I have reviews on these, I'll list them down below. But ultimately, I found the shimmer shades to be very difficult to deal with. I couldn't apply them to my lids with a brush. I couldn't apply them to my lids with my finger. Like it just wasn't the Adept quality that I know and love. And I mean, you can see there's a big dip here just simply because I was trying to pick up the product and this was more of a jelly type of shadow. So anytime I touched it, there was like an indentation in it. We had these cool like shifty shades here. A lot of these shimmer shades were just toppers and overall it just wasn't my style. I was pretty disappointed because this is an expensive palette and I am going to be doing my palette declutter and like my entire eyeshadow palette collection here pretty soon. And I think sadly, this is going to be one that I'm decluttering because it just, as beautiful as it looks, the color story looks beautiful, the packaging looks beautiful, it just didn't perform in a way that worked for me. In the number 23 spot, not a lot of these palettes that I'm ranking I dislike, but I do also dislike the number 23, and this is from Natasha Denona. Now, I've been raving about Natasha Denona for years. I love their eyeshadow formula. Like, Natasha Denona is one of my favorite brands. This is the Hyper Natural Face Palette, and I will tell you, my friend Samantha March loves this palette. So this totally comes down to personal preference because these 5 shimmer shades are meant to be like one and done shadows. You have bronzer, you have blush, and you're supposed to be able to like create a full look with the bronzer, the blush, and then just throw a shimmer on the lid. I am not a one and done type of gal. In my head, I tell myself that I want to be. I want to be able to just apply one shadow, be good to go, but that doesn't end up being the case. I'm more of like a 2 or 3 shadow kind of gal, and so I think the quality is fine. This one's much more of a topper, not quite as pigmented. The quality of the shadows are good, the bronzer and blush are good, but it's just not my personal taste, my personal preference. So that puts this in the number 23 spot. Again, this is probably one that's going to get decluttered, and it was a disappointment because I love Natasha Denona and I wanted to love like an all-in-one palette, and I did enjoy the bronzer and blush, but sadly this is one that's just been sitting in my collection untouched and unused. So that's coming in at the number 23 spot, the Natasha Denona Hyper Natural Face Palette. When I go to do my declutters, you'll probably see those 2 being decluttered, I would imagine. I haven't done it yet. Coming in at the number 22 spot is one that I kind of feel the same about the quality, but I don't think I'm going to declutter it just yet. And this is the Hudabeauty Icy Nude palette. This is an unpopular opinion. A lot of people love the Huda Beauty formula. My friend Molly, Makeup Molly included, she loves Huda Beauty. I know this about myself, that I don't love her larger palettes. I've tried some of her smaller palettes and I've enjoyed those. I know that I don't love her larger palette formula, but I was sucked in by this one because, first of all, Huda Beauty is saying this is going to be her last large palette, and I love the color story. I love that you have like a cooler section, you have some warmer tones over here, but mostly a cool palette. Icy shades, supposed to be like icy nude, icy neutral. That's my vibe, a great winter palette. But for me, a lot of these shimmers are a little bit on the chunky side, hard to deal with. We have like this weird pressed glitter that's supposed to be biodegradable. I think the mattes are great, but again, it's the Huda Beauty shimmers for me. I just find them to be difficult to deal with. I don't prefer to put a shimmer on my lid with my finger. That's how I feel like these shadows best apply, is if you're using your finger. I prefer a blush. I did have some issues with fallout, like I said, not into this pressed glitter here. This one didn't really show up. It's not a palette that I love overall, which is why it's in the number 22 spot. It's not one that I'm quite ready to declutter because it is a little bit newer in my collection. I want to use it some more. I want to try it some more. I want to get some more use out of it. But I can imagine that this may be one that gets decluttered in the future. So stay tuned for that. So the Adept and the Natasha, definitely don't like. Definitely don't want to keep those around. Huda Beauty, not my favorite, but not a hate. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about this palette that's coming in the 21 spot. This is from Smashbox. It's Cozy Vibes. This was sent to me by a friend after she got this in PR. Now, Smashbox came out with several of these little, these are little tiny baby palettes. Look at that, y'all. It fits in the palm of my hand. This is a tiny palette and the pans are very small, okay? So my friend sent this to me. She was like, do you want to try it out? I love neutrals. I love browns. It's cozy. Cozy Vibes fits the name. I don't think that this is a bad palette, but I just feel meh about it. Love the color story, love the brown neutrals. The quality is just okay. I wouldn't say it's the best quality ever. I wouldn't say it's my least favorite quality ever, but it's just a meh palette for me. And this is one that I imagine I will probably declutter when I do my whole collection and declutter series, simply for the fact that I have better quality shadows in my collection. I have shadows that I'm reaching for in my collection, and I feel like I have friends or family members in my life who may enjoy this one and get more use out of it than I will, because like I said, not terrible, not horrible, but also just not the best. So Smashbox, Cozy Vibes. Now we're getting into the territory of, honestly, personal preference. A lot of the palettes that are coming up next, my bottom 20, my next 20, my top 20, I don't know how you want to call it, but the next 20 eyeshadow palettes that I'm going to talk about, I do generally like the quality and the formula of each of these. I was ranking them based on color story alone. And so coming in the number 20 spot is this one from Nomad Cosmetics. You're going to see a lot of Nomad palettes in here because I did recently get put on their PR list. I love Nomad Cosmetics. I have purchased several of their palettes to begin with, and they sent me these travel palettes. So this is the Nomad Air Canadian Rockies travel eyeshadow palette. Now I love the Nomad formula. I think the formula and the quality is great. I think these little travel palettes are spectacular. 6 eyeshadows. You have some bright shifty shimmers here. You have some mattes, but at the end of the day, this is not a color story that I'm going to be wearing often, okay? Blues are not my favorite. I don't typically reach for a blue unless I'm creating a look for YouTube, to be honest. Like in my day-to-day life, I'm not gonna be like, let me throw a blue eyeshadow on. This green is very pretty. This would have been pretty for Christmas, but like Christmas, I just sit at home with my family, no makeup on, sweatpants, you know what I mean? So super cute palette. Love this one. Love the size of it. Not quite as tiny as the Smashbox, but it's a small one. Although you have a nice size pan, you have a mirror in here. I think this is great quality. This is just in the number 20 spot because of the color story. Coming in at number 19 is this one from Sigma Beauty. This is the Little Mermaid collection. Sigma collaborated with Disney. Last year they had a Beauty and the Beast. This year they had a Little Mermaid. There's this super cute insert. I like to save these little inserts. This palette I thought was super fun. I do enjoy the Sigma formula. I feel like some palettes are better than others. The quality of some shadows are better than others. I thought this one was fantastic. I played with it. I had a great time playing with it. I have a whole video on this entire collection. I think this Jumpin' Jellyfish is super fun. It's like a shifty duochrome there. I think this one underneath it, swimming, beautiful voice, like that's fun. This one right here in scroll is super fun. But again, this is the color story that gets me. I created such a fun, beautiful mermaid look with this eyeshadow palette, and I really did enjoy it. I thought it was spectacular. I thought the quality was amazing, but this is one that I don't reach for a ton simply because of the color story. So if you like bright and colorful mermaid vibes, this is fantastic. I love it, just not my typical color story. Coming in at number 18 is another Nomad palette. Again, another colorful palette. This is the Nomad Keys Beachy and Peachy palette based off of the Florida Keys. This is what it looks like right here. Beautiful, 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 like tropical vibes, y'all. The thing that's fun about this is you kind of have more of like the pastel-y shades over here. You have these bright blues and oranges, but I just got done telling you that like blues aren't my color story, and this definitely fits Florida Keys, y'all. This gives me tropical vibes. Everything from the packaging with the flamingos, you have some drinks on here, you have my like these perfect, okay, right? Tropical, perfect, beautiful. The color story is so fun. I had a lot of fun playing with this one. The quality is amazing. It's just, for me, this is not one that I reach into when I'm like, okay, let me throw my makeup on for fun today. This is one that I reach into when I'm like, okay, I want to create something colorful. I want to create something pastel, more so if I'm like filming or doing something specific. So this is a fun one, but this is coming in at the number 18 spot. I hope the lighting is okay. It's kind of gloomy and stormy here in Houston today, but we're gonna make it work. Coming in at number 17 is another Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. I filmed a video this year where I was testing out some of your favorite YouTubers' favorite products, and my friend Kara, Beauty and the Frizz, told me that she absolutely loves this Xenon palette from Natasha Denona. So I purchased it and I tried it out. When you look at this, y'all, this is a very specific color story, okay? Grays, blacks, you have this snowboat shade that some people say is a pink. To me, it's still more like an icy shade, okay? This is going to give you very smoky vibes. If you're going for a smoky eye, this is fantastic. You can stick with more of the blacks, you can stick with more of the silvers. I feel like this would be a great winter palette if you're trying to create something icy, snowy, deep. The quality is spectacular. This is a Natasha Denona palette that I know and love. This is 100% in the number 17 spot because of the color story. I don't wear a smoky eye often. If I am gonna wear a smoky eye, I'm gonna reach for this palette, but that's not something that I'm typically going for in my day-to-day life, so that's why it's coming in at 17. Coming in the number 16 spot is another Disney collab, but this time it is with Colourpop. Colourpop came out with a Beauty and the Beast palette. When I got this one, I purchased this one myself. I purchased the Natasha Denona myself, but I did a video where I was talking about this and I mentioned the Sigma Beauty and the Beast collab in that video if you're interested. Look at how cute this packaging is. I definitely got this one more so for like the nostalgia. This is one that if my daughter was a little bit older, I'd probably give it to her and be like, oh my gosh, play with it. It's so cute. This is for you. I wanted to try it out. I think the color story, y'all, it's so cute. It's mostly neutral. You have these rosy vibes. You have some shimmers here. You have this pink forbidden shade, some blue. I feel like it fits with the theme. I like Colourpop shadows. I think they're good quality, not just good for the price, but they're good quality. Not my favorite, but it's good. And I think this color story is fun. It performed great. I like the palette overall. This is one where I prefer some other palettes and shadows over this one. I played with it initially and I just have too much eyeshadow in my collection. We're not gonna let my husband know that I said that, but I have too much eyeshadow in my collection, so I haven't really reached for this one again, but I think it's super cute. So the next two, 15 and 14, they could kind of be lumped together, but I did separate them into their own categories. So number 15 is this mini from Natasha Denona. This is the mini rose palette. Now I do have several of these mini rose palettes. I do like a smaller palette. I'm into smaller palettes. I think they're fantastic. They're great for travel. It gives you a little bit of everything. You have a lighter shade, a deeper shade, some rosy vibes. The quality, again, Natasha Denona. I love Natasha Denona shadows. I feel like this quality is good. Like overall, I really like this palette, but it's coming in the middle of the road because I just find myself in my head thinking that I'm gonna use these more than I actually do. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm gonna use these a ton, but then when the time comes, they kind of sit in my collection and they're kind of untouched. So this one was the mini rose, and then I said, you know, 14 and 15 could kind of go together. This one is the number 14 spot. This is the My Mini Dream. And I think that this was the first eyeshadow palette that I tried in 2024 this year. And this one is a little bit more on the neutral side, whereas the mini rose is a little bit warmer, definitely more of rosy vibes. This one is a little bit more neutral. I wouldn't quite say warm toned, I wouldn't quite say cool toned. I feel like it is pretty neutral. You have these brown shades, two shimmer shades that are very similar in texture. I feel like I used it a lot when I first got it, but again, these little Natasha Denonas, like I said, I keep getting them because in my head, I'm like, it's perfect, you can travel with it, they're small, they're compact, they don't take up a lot of space, but at the end of the day, I find that I'm just really not reaching for these a ton, so I probably should stop buying them. Coming in the number 13 spot is another one from Nomad Cosmetics that was sent to me. And this one is the Fuji 5 Lakes color palette. This packaging is absolutely amazing. It literally feels like a canvas, y'all. Like I can feel the texture. This is their fall palette. Definitely gives me fall vibes. You have Mount Fuji here in the background. Absolutely stunning. The packaging for this palette is like 10 out of 10 for me. I love it. It's probably some of my favorite packaging. Like just Nomad is super creative. They're a travel-based indie eyeshadow brand if you're not familiar, and they're based out of Texas like me, love that, but their packaging is very unique and I love that about it. So this one, again, it is just color story. I think the quality is fantastic. I think the shadows are fantastic. I enjoyed the looks that I created with this palette, but we have some like yellows and blues over here. We have some more blues. We have some reds. I really enjoy this shimmer shade right here in Pampas Grass. I created a ton of fun looks, but this 100% quality is fantastic. It's coming in the middle of the road simply because of the color story. Coming in the number 12 spot is a new eyeshadow brand to me. I tried Fantasy Cosmetica this year. I did purchase these myself. This is the Druid palette or Droid palette. I'm not 100% how you say it. I do believe Fantasy Cosmetica is based on gaming and I'm not into video gaming, but I wanted to purchase some Fantasy Cosmetica after going to Austin for SAMG weekend. I got to meet Jordan from Fantasy Cosmetica and I wanted to support and I wanted to try out her eyeshadow formula, and I will tell you, I think the formula is amazing. Super shimmery, super pigmented, like boom, bam, in your face. The quality is fantastic. These shades are very deep and like look at this shimmer shade right here. Can you see it? Absolutely stunning. It's just that these shades are deep and vampy. I definitely have a time and a place for this palette. There are times when I want to be deep and vampy. I love the green, like mossy vibes. I created some fabulous looks with this. I think this is overall a great palette, a great introduction for Fantasy Cosmetica. This palette is one of her best-selling palettes, I believe, but it is coming in the number 12 space because it is so deep and vampy and rich that I go for like more simple looks these days, but I love this one. Coming in the number 11 spot is another palette that was sent to me from Nomad Cosmetics, and it's another one of their travel palettes. This was the Nomad Air. It came out with the Canadian Rockies one. This is the Abu Dhabi palette. Definitely very warm, desert vibes, rich. I love how you have kind of this trio down here, this trio up here. I created a very warm, fiery look with this one. Again, Nomad quality is fantastic. This palette is so cute. I love the travel vibes. I love that it's small and compact, and you have a mirror, and I felt like these shimmers were just amazing. They performed spectacularly, but this is definitely one where you're only going to create one or two looks that look very similar if you're using this palette alone. And so I just don't reach for it a ton. It is very, very warm. I'm kind of in my cool toned era, but overall this is a great palette, so it came in the number 11 spot. Now we're in the top 10, y'all. I love all of these, and honestly, if you were to ask me in a month, if you were to ask me in a week, I might rank these totally different, but I feel pretty solid about my top 10. Like, I love these palettes. I've used them a bunch. I think they're fantastic, and I would really recommend all of them. So we're just gonna go ahead and dive in with like how I ranked my top 10. Coming in the number 10 spot is one of the newest palette. The newest palette from Nomad Cosmetics, the Polar Express palette. They did send this to me. Again, I'm talking about the packaging, y'all. Like, Nomad knows how to make such creative packaging. This is the outer carton, and I'm definitely keeping the outer carton because when you pull it out, you can see here it was the train from the inside of the Polar Express. Such a fun Christmas movie. I'm a teacher if you don't know, and so we always have like Polar Express Day at school. My kids love the Polar Express movie, and this is just such a fun one. Definitely a holiday palette, definitely winter vibes. The quality is fantastic. This Polar Express shade, can you see? It shifts like blue, purple. So cool, so creative, so unique. These shadows are very pigmented, very creamy, very blendable. I loved playing with this one. It feels a little bit easier for me to use, honestly, because of these neutral shades right here. Because I did say, like, I don't love the blues, but I like these kind of icy silver whites, and these neutrals make it really easy and wearable. That's how it got lower down on the list than some of the other palettes that had blue shadow in it. So this is a fun one, Nomad Polar Express. Coming in at number 9 is the other Fantasy Cosmetica palette that I did purchase myself this year, and it's the Fighter palette. I was talking to my friend Amanda, Makeup Just for Fun. She collaborated with Fantasy Cosmetica this year, and I was asking her like what palette she thought she could see me using, and she was definitely like, I think you would like the Fighter palette. And so, you know, my little neutral heart purchased it, and I think it's fantastic. Of course, I can see why Amanda recommended this to me. You have these brown shades that are easy for me to work with. You have these bright shimmer shades here in Fervor and Victory. It's kind of more of like the safe, neutral copper red tone. You do have this fun Glory shade right here, which is very shifty. You do have some silver and gray tones. I also really love this shade Might, which is like a purple gold shift. Purple is my favorite color. I love this palette. Again, it's a little bit more of like deeper, smokier, vampier vibes, which is why it's coming in the number 8 and not necessarily the top 5, but the quality is amazing. Super blendable, super creamy, super pigmented, nothing bad to say about it. Okay, so I've been talking about Nomad palettes that have been sent to me, but coming in the number 8 spot is a Nomad palette that I purchased myself, and it is this one right here, the Ireland Wild Atlantic Way. This is, of course, inspired by Ireland, which is why you have tons of greens and golds. My red hair goes great with greens and golds. I purchased this one because I thought it was fun. I would love to go to Ireland someday. My heritage is Irish, amongst a lot of other things, but I do have a little bit of Irish in me. Look at the Irish. So I thought this was super fun. I really love this Savage Beauty shade right here. I really love like some of these greens, this green right here. This one is like a green blue, which is fun. You also have like some gold shades. This one is a little bit easier for me to use because if I'm going to dip into color, it's typically going to be green or purple. But you have the golds, you have some neutral shades. I really liked this one. Again, like when I'm telling you, the Nomad packaging is so unique every time. It's just so fitting. There's a nice mirror in here. It's so fitting for Ireland, and I love this one. Coming in the number 7 spot is the last of the Nomad Air travel palettes. This one is the Oslo palette. Oslo Garden, the Oslo palette. It's telling me the airport, but I can't pronounce that. Anyway, cool tone vibes, neutral, fun, easy, safe for me. I love the quality. The 3 Nomad Air palettes came out together. This one is definitely my favorite. The quality of all of them is spectacular and amazing and fun, but this one is just more of a neutral vibe. I really like this Democratic Design shade. It's almost like a cool toned, like cool rosy tone, if you know what I mean. This one is more of a silver shade, but if you pair like this natural shade with Democratic Design, you get almost like this cool toned rosy vibe. I feel like those two don't really go together, cool toned and rosy, but that works. It works with this palette. So I love this one. This is coming in the number 7 spot. Definitely a fun, easy one if you're looking for something natural, neutral, and simple. Coming in the number 6 spot is another Nomad palette that I purchased myself. Not a new palette, but it's the Nomad Haunted Europe palette. Haunted Europe is one of the palettes that I think Nomad is most known for. It released a couple years ago. They re-released it this year around Halloween time. I do have the Ghost Town USA, and those re-released again together this year. And so I decided to get Haunted Europe to see what all of the talk was about. I mean, look at this, like so creative, right? But it's the color story inside that is definitely giving me Halloween vibes, spooky vibes. Again, we have like this kind of 9-pan palette over here, which is green and orange and gold, a little bit warmer. And then over here you have these deeper like witchy vibes, right? With the purple and the magenta and some silvers and cool tones. And together it's just a really fun palette. I loved the looks that I created with this one. I can definitely see like Halloween vibes, spooky season, fall vibes. I will for sure be pulling this one out again in the fall season, but I just loved it. I had so much fun with it, and I'm glad that I added this one to my collection. I want to pause here for a minute before I get into the top 5, because I did mention that there were 3 eyeshadow palettes that I got this year that I wasn't going to be ranking, and so I want to talk about those right now, and I want to talk about why I'm not ranking them. So all 3 of these palettes are like influencer palettes. So we have the Adept Amy Loves collaboration. We have the Fantasy Cosmetica Makeup Just for Fun Enchanted Autumn collection. And then we have the Singe Beauty Galactic Visitor. Singe Beauty is a makeup brand owned by Angelica Nyqvist. She is one of my besties here. Like, we've been friends for a few years now. She created Singe Beauty. And I decided this year, in years past, I think I did like rank influencer collabs or influencer brand palettes in my ranking, but I decided not to this year because I feel like I love all of these palettes, but I love the people behind them. I know Amy, I know Amanda, I know Angie, and so I just feel like I would be partial. Like, of course, these would be like my top 3 palettes. Like, hello, duh, they would be my top 3. So I do want to take the time to like talk about them a little bit. I did just recently do a whole review on the Galactic Visitor palette from Singe Beauty. I am so proud of Angie. I know she worked so incredibly hard on this palette, and I love how it's a mixture of like her with her colorful vibes, but there are also some neutral shades in here. I am a neutral lover. Angie is a colorful queen, and I feel like you get the best of both worlds here. Like, you get, I know Angie loves the blue, you have the warm tone shades up here. I really love this Milky Way shade. Like, yes, give it to me. Milky Way with Orbit is stunning. Encounter is a beautiful shifty shade. The thing that I love about this palette is how this is a great way for a neutral lover like me to play with color. These colors are a little bit safer. You have some minty greens here, of course, this bright blue. Angie loves blue. But these top 2 rows, like, neutral looks all day. I created 4 looks with this palette, so you should definitely check that out if you want to see like a neutral twist. And of course, check out Angie's channel if you want to see how she plays with color. But this is fantastic. I knew that it would be fantastic. Angie is very picky, and she is not afraid to tell you if she does or does not like something. So I knew that whatever she came out with would be fantastic, and I'm so incredibly proud of her. And I, of course, would recommend that everybody purchase Galactic Visitor, because I mean, look at the packaging. It's fantastic. Then we have my friend Amanda, Makeup Just for Fun. When I went to CMG weekend in Austin in the beginning of the year, no, it was June. In the beginning of summer, Amanda, Makeup Just for Fun, she came down, she stayed at my house, we got to hang out, we road tripped together, and that was when she was telling me all about her collab with Fantasy Cosmetica, the Enchanted Autumn collection. First of all, I love Amanda. I love Angie. That's why I feel like I can't rank their palettes, because I love them so much that of course I would love anything that they do. But if I take Amanda out of this, I mean, look at this stunning artwork. Like, this is absolutely amazing. This came out as a fall palette. I love fall vibes, but look at the inside, y'all. Like, this is delicious goodness, richness. This was what kind of was introducing me to Fantasy Cosmetica. I was like, tell me more, because their formula is amazing. Amazing. Of course, this would be one of my top palettes of the year, like, duh. But there's a Scorpio shade. Shout out to me, all of the Scorpios, October birthday. You have these rich greens. You can create a neutral shade with these golds right here. You have fun purple, a silver. I love all of the looks that I created with this palette. Definitely very fall vibes. Again, the Fantasy Cosmetica formula is amazing. And Amanda's amazing. So I knew that I should expect nothing less than like fantastic goodness with this collab. And the last palette that I won't be ranking, now Fantasy Cosmetica and Amanda and Angie, they did have the Enchanted Autumn and the Singe Beauty Galactic Visitor sent to me, but I purchased the Adept Amy Loves collection myself because I wanted to support Amy, and I love Adept shadows. I think this is absolutely beautiful and stunning. Although I talked about the Legend of Ardra palette and how I didn't love that formula, this formula is absolutely fantastic. Amy did a great job with Adept. This is like a cool mid-toned dream. We have so many shimmers. I love shimmers. I'm shimmer heavy. Like Angie loves mattes. She likes more matte heavy. I love shimmers. This is me. Look at this lavender shade. Look at this Pisces shade. I love this caramel shade. If you're going, like, this is not even doing it justice. If you're going for more of a neutral look, you don't have that many mattes. You have 5 mattes, which I think is fine. I think 5 is fine. You can build them up. You can sheer them out. Like, it works great with my fair skin tone, but it's the shimmers for me. This is the Adept shimmer formula that I know and love. I have been reaching for this palette nonstop since I purchased it. Well worth the money. So proud of Amy and Adept. I know that they worked really, really hard on it. This is the Adept formula that I know and love. So like, if you want to go purchase an Adept palette, like, purchase this one. Now let's get into the top 5, and I really hope my lighting is okay. It's super dark and dreary, and it was not like that when I was getting ready to film. Okay, coming in at the number 5 spot. This one might be a hot take, because it was like kind of new, but not new in 2024. And like kind of new to me, but not new to me in 2024. I'm talking about the Urban Decay Naked palette. Like, this is not new. This is not new, y'all. Urban Decay Naked palette has been around for like ever, right? But then Urban Decay discontinued it. I had it back in the day. It was my first high-end palette. I decluttered it, and then they discontinued it, and I had major FOMO and regret. So when they re-released the Naked palette, I was like, yes, give it to me. I need to have it back in my collection. This is in the top 5. Is this a palette and a color story that I'm reaching for on the daily? Not really, but I still love to play with it. I love this Virgin shade for like my brow bone or to like set my eyeshadow primer. I really like this Singe shade for an inner corner. These are great neutral shades. I feel like this is a staple palette. This is a great beginner palette. If you have someone in your life who loves neutrals, or they're not a makeup lover, but they're looking for some kind of makeup or something easy, work makeup, Urban Decay Naked palette is like fantastic. So I still wanted to put it in here because like this one I purchased in 2024. It was re-released in 2024, but not really a new one. Coming in the number 4 spot, I actually forgot that I purchased this one this year. For some reason, I was thinking that it was a fall palette, and maybe just because the color story gives me fall vibes, but it's the Lunar Beauty Moonshroom collection. I actually think this came out in this spring, but you'll see when I open it why I'm saying it gives me fall vibes. Like, look at these like browns, mossy, rich shades, these shimmers. You have this fun pop of purple here. Like, this feels like a fall palette to me. I feel like it should have been released like last year in the fall, but nonetheless, it came out in the spring. I love the Lunar Beauty formula. I think it's great quality. Although I am a shimmer girl, this is very matte heavy, but I like the way you have like lighter mattes and then deeper mattes. And I almost like how you could kind of do these trios if you really wanted to, and use it as a trio to kind of give yourself like a little pop, something easy. I love how it's fun and neutral, but there are also these pops of color like Magic Mushroom, Witch's Hat. You have this fun shade right here in Pixie Pop. This is just, it's a really creative collection. I think Lunar Beauty is another brand like Nomad who does a great job, like 10 out of 10 with their packaging. You have the moon is raised here, you have a little pixie, you have the Moonshroom, the butterfly. Like, this is fantastic. Fantastic, fantastic packaging. I love it. Coming in at number 4. Okay, number 3 surprised me, y'all. It did. It surprised me. I did not purchase this. It was sent to me by a friend after I didn't purchase it. I did not purchase the Too Faced Appley in Love palette. These tin palettes always get me because the color stories, I'm like, yes, give it to me. I want it. And then I purchase them and then they sit on a shelf. So I was like, I'm not gonna get Appley in Love. And then my friend reached out to me and said, hey, I have an extra, do you want it? And I was like, actually, yeah, go ahead and send that to me. I did a video where I created 4 looks, 2 using the Appley in Love, 2 using the Polar Express palette because they weren't new at the time when I was filming. And like, I fell in love with it. Like, I want to play with it again. You almost have like Christmas vibes over here. You have some fun neutral vibes. It could be more fall. It could be more winter. Like, you have a wide variety. It smells good. Not super strong, almost like a faint apple smell. If you're sensitive to scents, I don't think that you would be bothered by this one. But I really like this Slice Baby shade. It's fun. This gold is fun. Like, I just had fun playing with it. Too Faced isn't like my favorite formula of eyeshadows, but I think the formula is good in this one. I love the color story. Like, I am just as shocked as you that a palette that I passed on is my number 3. Coming in the number 2 spot, this was sent to me, and I went back and forth between this one and the number one on which one should be one and which one should be two, and depending on the day I might change them around. But this is the Nomad Chicago Speakeasy palette. Y'all, again, look at the packaging. It's like velvet packaging with the red and the gold. Speakeasy vibes, love it. I love Chicago, but I love this color story, y'all. This color story is so fun. We have trios here. I created 5 looks and I used like each of these trios together because when I got this palette, I was getting ready to go to Michigan with my friend Molly. We did a get ready with me using this palette together, but I took this with me. I wasn't able to create like a dedicated video. And then I told you guys that when I did create a dedicated video, it was gonna take me some time because I wanted to use the trios. I loved all of the looks that I created. Formula is amazing. Shifty, shadowy goodness. I love the purple vibes over here. I love the neutral. These greens are super fun. Like overall, this is one of my favorite Nomad palettes that I've tried, and I absolutely love everything about it. So it's coming in the number 2 spot. Number 1. Now, if we talk about 1 and 2, I said that I didn't know if I was going to put this as 1 or 2. This one ended up being 2 because the number 1 tends to be much more of a go-to for me. I don't think that it's quite as fun as the Chicago Speakeasy, but I'm talking about the Natasha Denona Golden palette. We all know I love Natasha Denona. The formula is absolutely fantastic, but this golden palette has been a go-to for me. A go-to for weddings, a go-to for Christmas looks, a go-to for when I was traveling. I took this to Austin for CMG weekend. This has been a go-to for me. I have a light shade that I can set all over the crease. We have this deeper shade if I want to deepen my outer corner. We have a wide variety of like golds and browns, and some people may call it boring. They may. Maybe it is boring. Maybe I'm a little boring, but I love this one. I think that it's absolutely fantastic. I have gotten so much use out of this. I have used it a ton, and that's why I had to put it in the number 1 spot because it's probably my most used. I use it when I'm on camera. I use it when I'm off camera. I've used it when I wanted to travel. When I don't know what I want to do, I reach into this one. So it just felt fitting. It felt fitting that Natasha Denona should be in the number 1 spot. Okay, so I told you at the end that I would let you know what is on my eyes, so this is your last chance to guess. Pause the video. You've seen my palettes. It's one of these that I talked about. Let me know what you think it is. And if you said Amy, an Adept, you're correct. This look here, I have been reaching for the Adept Amy Loves palette so much. Like I didn't even realize that I was a cool toned girly until I got this because like I said, I love the Adept shimmers. Like this and the Golden palette are probably my 2 most used because I've had this one for a while and I just keep going to it. So I have this mocha shade in the crease and I just blended it out, and then I took lavender and put that on the lid. Lavender is like my absolute favorite shade. I took a little bit of Lights Up on the inner corner and it's sparkly and it's shifty and it's gorgeous and it's beautiful. So if you guessed this one, you are correct. With that, friends, that's gonna do it for this video. Again, I'm so sorry about the lighting. I wish that I had more like studio lights to brighten up the background a little bit because I feel like it's so dark and dreary, but hopefully you don't mind. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, it could take a turn at any point in time. I didn't take it too seriously. You shouldn't take it too seriously. I'm just ranking by my personal preference and this is what I came up with. So let me know your thoughts down below. What are your top 5 palettes of 2024? I would love to know. Are you interested in trying any of these? Do you have any of these in your collection? Anything that I received or purchased after the Galactic Visitor, I got that in the beginning of December. Anything after that, it's going to be moved into 2025. Like I got 2 palettes for Christmas. Those are going to be moved into 2025. If I make any purchases, those are going to be moved into 2025. So definitely stay tuned. Now that I have ranked my palettes, I need to finish my collection declutter series that's been going on, and I need to get rid of some because like I'm full over here. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.